The Kansas sun blazed over the gravel crossroads, scorching the air into a trembling haze. Clara Bates slumped in the cab of her old Freightliner, the engine rumbling low as she sipped flat water from a dented bottle. Sweat plastered her dark hair to her neck, her skin stinging in the stifling heat. The rig's AC had died 50 miles back, leaving her with open windows and the relentless drone of cicadas. She'd pulled over at this desolate junction to catch her breath. Her map crumpled on the dash, though she wasn't lost. Not in any way a map could mend. She just didn't know where she belonged anymore. Clara glanced at her silent phone on the passenger seat. No calls, no texts. Not since she'd roared out of Wichita 3 weeks ago. Her sister's voice gnawed at her, raw and pleading. "You're running again, Clara? I need you." She'd slammed the phone down on Lori, too furious to listen, too broken to stay. The road was her shield, the plains her silence, her rig the only thing keeping her whole. A sharp growl pierced the quiet. Clara leaned out the window, squinting through the dust. A golden retriever stood at the crossroads, his fur catching the fading light. No collar, no tags, just a lean frame and brown eyes locked on her truck. His hackles were up, his ears twitching like he'd caught something she couldn't hear. "Where'd you come from?" she muttered, stepping down from the cab. The dog didn't move, his growl easing to a whine as she neared, but his gaze stayed piercing, restless. She knelt, offering her hand. "Easy, buddy. Lost like me?" He sniffed her fingers, then licked them, his eyes never breaking from hers. Clara's chest warmed, a crack in her guard. She'd begged for a dog as a kid, but her dad always refused. This one didn't feel random, more like he'd been waiting. "I'll call you Scout," she said, scratching his ears. "Fits you." The sky darkened to a bruised purple, the sun dipping low. Clara stood to climb back into the rig, but Scout froze, his growl returning, low and urgent. He stared down the north road, his fur bristling. "What's out there?" she asked, following his gaze. The horizon shimmered, empty except for a faint swirl of dust, too deliberate for the still air. Scout barked, loud and jagged, then took a step north, looking back at her with pleading eyes. Clara's stomach knotted. She'd logged enough miles to trust instincts, the ones that steered her clear of trouble. Scout's unease sank into her, heavy and real. She glanced at her truck, the keys glinting in the ignition. "I should go," she muttered. But Scout planted himself in her path, barking again, his stare cutting through her. "You're not just some dog, are you?" she said, her voice shaky. She grabbed her flashlight and water bottle, her pulse racing as Scout bolted north. Her boots crunched on gravel, the air thick with heat and a faint tang of burnt rubber. Scout led her past a rusted road sign, its edge scratched with deep, fresh marks. Clara's light caught them, her breath catching. Not weathered new, Scout stopped at a bend, his ears twitching, then growled low, staring into the emptiness. She swept her flashlight across the dirt, revealing deep tire tracks veering off the road. Beside them, pressed into the dust, lay a small blue sneaker, its laces untied. Faint drag marks trailed nearby like something had been pulled away. "What the hell?" she whispered, picking up the shoe. Scout whined, nudging her leg, then darted toward a cluster of trees. Clara's heart pounded, her mind racing. No towns for miles, no cars, just this road and a sneaker that didn't belong. The air shifted, carrying a whiff of cigarette smoke and gasoline. "Scout! Wait!" she called, stumbling after him. The trees parted, revealing a sagging farmhouse, its wood weathered grey, windows dark and cracked. An old barn loomed beside it, its roof half-caved. Scout circled the house, his fur standing on end, then froze at the porch, his growl vibrating through the dusk. Clara climbed the steps, her flashlight trembling. "Anyone here?" she called, her voice swallowed by the silence. A faint creak drifted from the barn, like a door swaying, though the air hung still. Scout's ears flattened, his growl sharpening as he pawed at the porch boards. Clara knelt, her light piercing a crack. Dust swirled, and a sweet smell hit her. Spilled juice mixed with stale smoke. She pushed at the boards, prying them loose. Scout slipped through, vanishing into the dark below. Clara hesitated, her skin crawling, but his urgent bark pulled her in. She crawled after, the crawl space tight with cobwebs and damp earth. Her light caught Scout ahead, his body tense. He stopped at a corner, nosing a pile of quilts. Clara reached it, her hands trembling as she pulled the fabric back. A boy, maybe 3, curled there, his cheeks smudged with dirt, his eyes wide with fear. He clutched a toy truck, its wheel snapped. Tiny handprints marked the dust beside him, trailing to a shattered cup, its edge stained with red juice. A torn child's hoodie lay nearby, its sleeve ripped, dark smudges staining the fabric. "Hey, little guy," Clara said, her voice soft. "I'm here now." Scout pressed close, his warmth easing the boy's shivers. "What's your name?" she asked, brushing his hair back. "Tommy," he stammered, his voice faint. "Mama said stay here." Clara's throat tightened. "Where's your mama now?" she asked, steadying her tone. Tommy's lip quivered. "She went with the man. She was crying." Clara's chest seized. Crying? Hiding her kid under a porch? She wrapped her jacket around Tommy, lifting him. "We're getting out." Scout led them back, his movements swift. They emerged as night fell, the sky a deep indigo. Tommy squinted, wincing at the light, his small hands rubbing his eyes. Scout nudged his shoulder, and he relaxed, clinging to Clara's neck. She set him on the porch, pouring water into her hand for him to sip. He drank, Scout staying glued to his side. She grabbed her CB radio. "Clara Bates, mile marker 42 off Route 281. Found a kid, about 3, alone in a farmhouse. Need help now," she said, cutting through static. The reply crackled. "Units an hour out. Hold tight!" Tommy gripped Scout's fur, his voice small. "He found me." "I heard him." Clara nodded, her hand on Scout's head. "He's special like that?" She studied the boy, his clothes worn, the hoodie's tear fresh. "When did your mama leave?" she asked. "Morning," he said, pointing to the barn. She said hide. Clara's gut churned. Hide from what? She shone her light toward the barn, its dark shape looming. Scout's hackles rose, his growl deepening. "Stay here," she told Tommy, stepping off the porch. Scout followed, his nose low, guiding her to the barn's splintered door. Inside, the air reeked of hay and cigarettes. Her light caught a still warm cigarette butt in the dust, its ember faintly glowing. Deep boot prints sank into the dirt nearby. Too big for a child. Clara froze, her pulse spiking. Someone had been here too recently. A glint caught her eye. A keychain with a single key, lying in the dirt. She picked it up, her breath hitching. Initials scratched into it. LB. The Lori Bates. A cracked phone lay beside it, its screen smashed, and a silver bracelet with a heart charm, one Clara had given Lori years ago. Her knees buckled, memories crashing in. Lori's voice desperate. "I'm in trouble, Clara." She'd hung up, too angry to care. Scout whined, nudging her toward a tarp on the back wall. Clara yanked it aside, revealing a rusted truck, its door ajar. A sharp crack split the air. Scout lunged, slamming into her legs, knocking her aside. Clara hit the ground hard, a choked rasp escaping as dust seared her lungs, her throat burning. The world tilted in a red haze of heat, her head ringing like a drumbeat in her skull, her heart pounding in her throat. Scout pressed his hot nose to her neck, trembling, whining. He'd known before she did. If he hadn't pushed her, she'd be gone. A heavy beam crashed where she'd stood, the thud shaking her bones. She clutched his fur, gasping, her body quaking. "You saved me," she rasped, her voice raw, his ears flicked, his growl returning, staring at the barn door. Clara followed his gaze, her light catching fresh scratches on the frame. Too high for Tommy. Headlights pierced the dusk, gravel crunching as a sheriff's SUV rolled up. Deputies climbed out, their voices sharp. "You called?" a man asked. Clara nodded, pointing to Tommy. "Found him under the porch. Says his mom left with someone crying." The deputy frowned, radioing it in. "No missing persons yet. We'll sweep it." They took Tommy to the SUV, his small hand waving at Scout. "Good dog," he mumbled, clutching Clara's jacket. The deputy turned to her. "Good work. We'll find who he belongs to." Clara nodded, her throat tight. Scout knew. The SUV pulled away, leaving the crossroads silent. Clara sank onto the porch steps, Scout beside her. She clutched the keychain and bracelet, her hands shaking. "Laurie's in this, isn't she?" she whispered. "You dragged me back." Scout's eyes met hers, deep and unflinching, seeing beyond what she could grasp, knowing more than she understood. The air stilled, the hum of cicadas fading to nothing. Only Scout's steady, tense breathing cutting the void. A faint crackle from a distant power line stopped, the world holding its breath. Scout stepped in front of her, his fur bristling, ears pinned back, teeth bared in a low growl. He turned his head slowly, staring into the dark beyond the barn, his eyes commanding. "Back off," they warned. "Don't touch her." Clara's pulse spiked, her light sweeping the shadows. The barn door, shut moments ago, now hung ajar, swaying in the still air. Her fingers clenched around Scout's fur, pulling him close. "No, not there," she whispered, her voice cracking, fear surging for him. A slow, shallow inhale slipped from the barn's depths. Deliberate, alive. Scout's growl deepened, his body rigid, shielding her from the dark. If Scout found Tommy but the evil's still here, what's it waiting for? Subscribe now, before it's too late.